In a quiet corner of a weekend street market, under a faded green canopy, stood Daniel, a single father with rough hands and tired eyes. He had set up a small wooden table to display his handmade toys, each one carefully crafted from scrap wood. In the evenings after his shifts at the warehouse, today, his 7-year-old daughter Lily sat beside him, swinging her legs and clutching her favorite, a hand-carved fox with button eyes and a crooked tail. Business was slow, like most weekends. People passed by with polite smiles but didn't stop. Daniel wasn't just selling toys, he was trying to keep a promise to Lily. Her birthday was coming up, and he didn't have enough money for the cake she wanted. He hoped the toys might bring in just enough. By noon, only one toy had sold, a clumsy-looking rabbit for $5. Daniel sighed and leaned back in his chair, defeated. That's when a woman in oversized sunglasses and a flowing designer coat stopped. She picked up the fox. "Did you make these?" she asked, her voice curious. Daniel nodded. "Everyone, by hand." She studied them silently. Then she knelt in front of Lily. "Do you like the fox?" the woman asked. Lily nodded shyly. "He's my best friend." The woman smiled, then stood and looked at Daniel. "I'll take them all." Daniel blinked. "All of them." She pulled out her phone and said, "I'll wire you $50,000, and I want 100 more by next month." Daniel laughed, thinking it was a joke. "Are you serious?" The woman removed her sunglasses. Daniel recognized her immediately. Vivian Cross, billionaire tech entrepreneur, often in the news for her unusual investments. "I'm launching a new luxury toy line, but none of my designers can replicate the soul in your work. I want you to lead it. Full creative control, health insurance benefits, everything." Daniel couldn't speak. Vivian knelt again and whispered to Lily, "And I'll make sure your dad never misses another birthday cake." Tears welled in Daniel's eyes. That day, under a faded green canopy, everything changed, not because of luck, but because love was carved into every toy. And someone finally noticed. The next few days were a blur. Daniel kept expecting a call to tell him it was all a mistake or a prank, but the $50,000 landed in his account the next morning. Vivian Cross didn't just buy his toy, she changed his life overnight. That same week, she sent over a team, a lawyer to help set up his small business legally, an assistant to help with logistics, and even a carpenter to help him expand his tiny garage into a real workshop. But Daniel insisted on keeping it small and personal for now. He still wanted to carve each toy himself. That's how it had always been since he started. Each toy had a story. The bear with a missing ear, inspired by Lily's old teddy, which had been through one too many adventures. The elephant with the tiny heart carved into its foot, a tribute to his late wife Emily, who used to say, "Love leaves footprints on everything you make." Vivian understood that. She didn't want mass production, she wanted heartfelt creation. One afternoon, as Daniel was working in his new, sunlit workshop, Lily came in with a crayon drawing of a dragon with purple wings and roller skates. "Can you make this?" she asked. Daniel smiled. "Of course." That dragon became the bestseller of the toy line Vivian launched, called Lily and Dead. Was more than a brand, it was a story people could feel. Parents around the world resonated with the idea of a father rebuilding his life with nothing but love, wood, and a few hand tools. 6 months later, Daniel stood in a black suit, something he never thought he'd own, at a grand launch gala hosted by Vivian herself. The walls were decorated not with fancy posters, but with giant prints of Lily's drawings and photos of the toys they inspired. In her speech, Vivian said, "The world doesn't need more plastic, it needs more love." When I saw a single father trying to sell wooden toys, I didn't see a product, I saw a purpose. This is what real success looks like. The crowd stood to applaud. Daniel, normally quiet and private, found himself overwhelmed. He looked over at Lily, who was twirling in a dress he couldn't have afforded just months ago. She grinned and gave him a double thumbs up. Tears filled his eyes again. Just like that first day at the market, despite the rapid growth of Lily and Dad, Daniel stayed humble. He still lived in the same small house on the edge of town, though now the leaky roof had been replaced. The walls were freshly painted, and Lily had a real bed instead of a couch cushion on the floor. Vivian visited often, not just for business. She brought books for Lily, sat with her while Daniel worked, and asked about her school and her drawings. She never had children of her own. Her empire was built on innovation and steel, but inside, she carried the quiet ache of a childhood filled with wealth, but no warmth. One evening, as the sun poured orange light into the kitchen, Lily tugged on Vivian's coat. "Do you want to come to our tea party?" Vivian blinked. "A tea party?" Lily nodded seriously. "You're the queen, Daddy is the knight, I'm the fox." Vivian laughed and sat cross-legged on the floor beside plastic cups and a tray of imaginary cookies. It was the first time in years anyone had made her pretend. Something inside her softened, something long buried. After Lily went to bed that night, Vivian lingered at the kitchen table while Daniel poured tea for the two of them. "This time, real, she's special," Vivian said, staring into her cup. Daniel nodded. "She saved me." Vivian looked at him. "She's saving me too." One day, a package arrived at their door. Inside was a sealed envelope and a small wooden box carved with their signature heart emblem. The letter was from a single mother in Brazil, whose son had autism and rarely smiled until he received one of Daniel's toys, a crooked little lion with a flower behind its ear. The boy had named it Leo and carried it everywhere. She wrote, "He never connected with anything before, but your lion is his friend. Thank you for seeing kids like mine. Thank you for the love you carve into every piece." Daniel read the letter aloud at the dinner table. Lily was quiet for a moment, then said, "Maybe when we make things with love, it spreads like magic." Daniel looked at her, amazed. "You're right." He placed the letter in a wooden frame and hung it above his workbench. From that day on, every toy came with a message. You are seen, you are loved, you belong. Within 2 years, Lily and Dad had created not just toys, but community workshops in underprivileged areas, places where fathers and mothers could build toys with their kids, rediscover lost connections, or just find peace through simple creation. Vivian helped fund it all, but in every press interview, she refused credit. "The heart of this company is not me," she said once. "It's a little girl who drew a dragon with roller skates, and a father who didn't give up." Years later, Lily, now a young adult, stood on a small stage at a school event. In the audience sat her father, older now, but still carving toys. Vivian, with streaks of gray in her hair, sat beside him. Lily held up the same wooden fox from years ago. This, she said, was made by a man who thought he had nothing to offer, but in his hands was love, patience, and a second chance. He didn't just build a toy, he built a life. The crowd rose in applause. Daniel wiped his eyes. Vivian took his hand, and in that moment, everything came full circle. Not just a story of success, but of healing, kindness, and how a simple act of love can change more than one life. It can change the world. Life was good, but not always easy. One autumn, just days before the grand opening of the first Lily and Dad community toy workshop, disaster struck. A massive fire broke out in the original garage, Daniel's sacred workshop, the heart of it all. It spread fast. By the time the firefighters arrived, the carved shelves, the dragon blueprints, the framed letter from Brazil, it was all gone. Daniel stood in silence as the smoke curled into the sky, his calloused hands shaking. He couldn't even bring himself to speak when Lily gently held his arm. Vivian arrived within an hour. She didn't ask questions. She just stood beside him, her eyes misty. "It's just wood," Daniel finally whispered, "but it was mine." Vivian looked at him, eyes sharp now. "No, Daniel, you are the magic, not the tools, not the building. You can rebuild anywhere. What's in your hands can't be burned." Daniel shook his head. "I don't know if I have the strength." Vivian stared at him. "Then borrow mine." News of the fire spread quickly, and so did something else. Letters, donations, hand-carved toys, and even videos from children across the world flooded in. A little boy from India sent a carved elephant. A girl from Poland sent a doll made of thread and string. A father from Kenya sent a note. "I started carving because of you. Let's build together." The story made headlines. Single Dad's toy company burns down, the world rebuilds it. It was no longer just Lily and Dad. It was a global family. Vivian donated a new space in the city center. Bigger, brighter, filled with natural light and photos of children holding handmade toys. But Daniel insisted they leave one corner bare, a single blackened beam from the old workshop mounted on the wall. "It's a reminder," he told visitors, "that even ashes can grow again." One evening, long after the company had grown beyond anything imaginable, Vivian sat on the porch with Daniel. Lily was away at college now, studying art and childhood development. Vivian handed Daniel an envelope. "What's this?" he asked. "My story," she said softly. "The one I never told you."